Hello, and welcome to the TIA video, You Failed, Now What? My name is Lee Gibson. I am a support instructor with TIA, helping to improve the seminars for the preliminary exams. Failure is a terrible feeling, but one that very few actuaries manage to avoid as they progress through the exam process. I want to share with you some ideas that we think can be helpful for you if you ever have to retake one of the preliminary exams. We'll start by learning how to think about why you weren't successful on the exam, and discuss some ideas that you could consider using as you prepare for your retake. Then, we'll see how to put together a new study plan, and finally talk about 3 very important responses to failure that you will need to avoid. There are 3 main reasons why the exam might not have gone well for you. You might have been doing well on the exam, but then ran out of time. You might have finished your preparation and been confident that you knew how to solve the problems, but then something went wrong, or you might not have known how to solve enough of the exam problems. There are 2 common issues that you might have experienced if you ran out of time. You might be taking too much time on most problems. If that is what happened, then in order to be more prepared for the next sitting, you could work more practice problems, try to decrease the time that you spend determining which solution techniques apply to the problem. You want that part of the process to be as automatic as possible. Look for ways to make the solutions go faster. Choose solution methods that are time economical. Review instructor solutions whenever problems take longer than the average. Use their techniques for making the solutions go faster. Become a calculator pro. Look for ways to use your calculator more and to use it more effectively. Don't panic. Get all the problems that you work on finished correctly. If you can avoid mistakes, then even if you don't finish all the problems, you will have a good chance to pass. Alternatively, you might have been spending too much time on long or hard problems. In that case, you should work more practice problems. Ideally, you should be able to work almost all the problems in the average per problem time for your exam. Spend more time working problems under exam conditions. Practice making decisions about when to skip a problem while you're under pressure. Maybe make a 5-problem mini-test and see how you can do practicing your exam taking procedures while you're under pressure. Review the triage technique described in the How to Prepare video. Make sure that you answer all of the easy problems first, and limit the number of minutes that you're allowed to work on problems the first time through, and so on. Review all the material again, but spend much more time working problems. Your main goal is to get faster. If you didn't fail due to time crunch, then perhaps you completed your study program on time, and knew how to complete most of the problems on the exam when you saw them. In that case, maybe nervousness kept you from being able to apply what you knew to get the right answers. This can be one of the most difficult problems to overcome. In order to keep test anxiety from hurting your performance as much as it did the last sitting, try to work more problems under exam conditions. Make those conditions as close as you can to the real exam so that you'll feel anxious even while you're just practicing. Practice following the test-taking strategies under pressure. It's not just your knowledge of the content that seems to go out the window when you feel anxious. Sometimes your test-taking strategy does too. Overlearn the material so that you will feel more comfortable, and so that even if you do less than your best, it will be good enough to pass the exam. Of course, if you've struggled with test anxiety in the past, then you may know many other options for dealing with it. Feel free to discuss your ideas in the forum related to this video. If you weren't feeling nervous, then maybe you thought you had most of the answers right, but then didn't. You remembered the problem types and how to get started, but maybe you lost direction with your solution along the way. Try to improve your understanding of the material and the problems so that you don't fall into the trap answers selections. Review the material as much as you can to make recognizing the problems and recalling all of the steps to the solutions automatic. It might also be that you made some small but somehow predictable errors during the calculations. Practice more problems. You need to be able to keep up your speed but without errors. Get more problems right on the first try. This is the art of being quick without hurrying. Being quick helps you finish on time. Hurrying causes mistakes. Whenever you use your calculator, slow down your calculator work until you can always complete the calculation exactly the way you wanted to with no keystroke errors. And maybe use a digit or 2 more in your calculations. This will help you to know when your answer is suspiciously different from the answer choices. But maybe you just didn't know how to solve enough of the problems. If you worked smoothly overall but struggled with problems related to several specific topics, then review these topics several times. Continue to practice other topics too. Don't miss any of the ones you're comfortable with next time, but be sure to stick to and complete your new study schedule. On the other hand, if you struggle with most of the problems, even though you covered the material, review your study strategies and make sure they are aimed at causing deep processing of the concepts. Be brutally honest. Do you really understand the material, or are you trying to get by on regurgitating solutions to practice problems? In the view that the societies have today, this technique is going to continue to be less and less effective. The societies want the students to demonstrate an in-depth understanding of the concepts, not just the ability to recognize problem types and regurgitate old solutions. When you practice problems, do you really understand the solutions, or are you just satisfied with seeing how to get the right answer? If you cut to the solutions that are provided too soon, then you'll lose your chance to really understand how to attack the problem for yourself. That makes your learning more about memorizing than about learning. Do you go back and try to redo the problems that you missed to see if you can get them right without returning to the solutions again? And how are you treating the practice exams? Do you review the problems that you missed to find exactly the reasons why you made the mistakes that you did? Do you review those sections of the material or make a focused effort to avoid the same types of errors on the next practice exam? If you make the same score on 2 practice exams in a row, unless that score is above 90% correct, then you aren't doing enough learning in between practice exams. That means you might be wasting one of your most important learning opportunities. Keep an eye out for another video on how to make the most out of practice exams. Coming up with a workable strategy. What are we going to do about it? If you put in a full effort and completed your study program before the last sitting, then it will be important to analyze your study methods and make some changes. I found a great video on getting the most out of your study time recently, and it included the following quote: "If you use ineffective or inefficient strategies, you can study long and hard and still fail. But if you use effective learning strategies, you can get the most learning out of your study time." Google "Get the Most Out of Studying" to find this video, or try www.tinyurl.com/getthemostoutofstudying. Some important things to keep in mind as you work toward changing your study habits are: don't keep on studying the same way you have been, hoping for a better result. It's not going to happen overnight, so commit to gradually changing the way you study to become more effective. And don't wait to seek out more help if you aren't able to make improvements on your own. Here are some examples of actions that will improve learning for almost anyone. Minimize distraction. You might think you are a good multitasker, but studies have shown that multitasking nearly always makes learning take longer and not be as deep. Stay on schedule, even if some concepts have to be skimmed. You will learn much more effectively if you distribute your activities across all your available time. No cramming. Keep an eye out for an Excel sheet that will help you build a learning schedule easily. Keep working on a problem until you can solve it without assistance. Don't be satisfied with the memory you have after you check the solution. If you didn't remember before you checked the solution, you won't remember on the exam either. Time your practices. Review the problems that take too long. Grab yourself a timer app to help find out when you're taking longer per problem than your exam allows. Mark the problems that take too long and try to find shorter methods. Record your errors. Work to decrease them. Make a tick sheet. Mark every time you make a small error, maybe even classify them by type. This can help you to stay conscious of your need to work carefully and catch mistakes early in your solution process. Be accountable to someone. This works best if the person you are accountable to is also working toward the same learning goal, and is a person that you can meet with physically. Maybe you can find another student or another person at work to meet with and check progress. Get involved in a learning community. The TIA Forum is a great place to do that, as is the Actuarial Outpost. Try a new learning approach. Did you use only a manual the last time? What about trying an online or a live seminar this time? For some folks, having somebody explain the material to them verbally or in pictures is a big help. It sucks to fail. I'm sorry that you failed, and that we weren't able to do more to help you to be successful. We take our part of the responsibility for your learning very seriously, and we are working hard to continue to improve your experience with our materials so that you can be successful and efficient. But there are 3 major pitfalls to avoid as you get ready to start preparing for the next sitting. Don't panic. Nearly every fellow has failed an exam at some point. The fact that you have come this far indicates that you will almost certainly be successful in meeting your goals as an actuary, if you're able to dedicate enough and effective effort to learning the concepts, and if you have access to and are willing to take whatever help that you need. Panic leads to paralysis. You can't work and you can't study because you're so upset or anxious about taking the exam during the next sitting. The other side of that coin is number 2. Don't deny. Living in denial is the best way to make sure that you will fail again the next time. You have to be honest with yourself as you evaluate your effort, your time, and your tactics and strategies, the ones that were insufficient to help you to pass the exam last sitting. More of the same will not get it done. You need to make changes that will help you to learn more and more effectively. Be honest as you evaluate the effectiveness of your study tactics. Another problem with denial is that it can lead you to make what is nearly always the poor decision to double up and take 2 exams during the next sitting. Much more often than not, doubling up will just lead to 2 failing grades. There is just too much information involved in each of the exam syllabi. Finally, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail." Your goal should be to squeeze every iota of improvement that you can get out of the experience and make absolutely certain that you don't make the same mistakes again the next time. Well, that about wraps it up for now. I'd love to discuss this more with you in the TIA forum if you have other questions or ideas about how to improve your study methods. Remember, every improvement you make now while you're still taking preliminary exams can only make it easier for you to continue to make progress later on. Have fun, study hard, and good luck.